Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take a stack of your sources, find those crucial nuggets of knowledge, the surprising facts, and the insights that really make you think.
And today, we're immersing ourselves in a modern high school world, but, interestingly, seen through the lens of a classic literary structure. We're doing a deep dive into Claire LaZebnik's novel Epic Fail.
Right, described as a contemporary take on Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, which is quite a twist, setting it in a Hollywood private school.
Exactly. And our source material for this deep dive is a summary PDF you've provided, which gives us a pretty detailed look into the story's plot and its themes.
So our mission, basically to unpack this narrative, navigate its, let's say, complex social terrain, and pull out the most important insights about handling big life changes.
Understanding people beyond those, first impressions.
And that often messy journey of finding yourself, and there's all this external pressure, we're hunting for those aha moments buried in the summary.
Okay, so to start, we really need to set the scene. The story focuses on Elise Benton and her family. She's got sisters Juliana, Layla, Caitlin, and the youngest, Ava.
And they're going through a massive transition, right? Moving from a quiet suburban life.
Straight into the vibrant, maybe overwhelming world of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Big change.
And the catalyst for this huge shift, their dad. He's taking on a job as principal at this very elite, exclusive private school in Hollywood Coral Tree Prep.
And the summary paints a clear picture. This move isn't just about changing location, it's like plunging into a completely different culture.
Yeah, culture shock is probably putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Especially for Elise, the summary suggests it's immediate, profound.
Totally. This new world has its own set of challenges, unspoken rules, things they'll have to figure out pretty fast.
Okay, so let's jump right into that. Their arrival, the unveiling of this, well, new world.
Yeah.
The Benton family lands in L.A., leaving everything familiar behind.
Right into the thick of it. The source describes Coral Tree Prep as, like, the epitome of an elite school. Think luxurious facilities, kids from celebrity families, powerful industries.
Wow. So a world away from whatever Elise knew before.
Yeah.
An immediate, almost disorienting contrast.
You can almost feel that overwhelm reading the description. It's not just fitting into a new school, it's like entering a whole pre-existing, highly structured social ecosystem.
That's a good way to put it. A complex web, the summary says.
Exactly. Cliques, competition, social maneuvering. Pretense seems kind of the norm. But, amidst that initial intimidation, Elise does start taking those first steps, trying to find her place.
And thankfully, she's not completely isolated from the get-go. The summary mentioned she finds allies pretty quickly.
Yes, it highlights her connection with Juliana, who becomes a really vital confidant. Juliana is described as warm, welcoming, and surprisingly pretty good at navigating this tricky social scene.
Which must be incredibly helpful for Elise.
Oh, absolutely. A lifeline, probably.
So Juliana provides that bit of grounding, a sense of belonging. And as Elise starts to settle, maybe just a little, she encounters the other key players in this new world.
Which brings us nicely to understanding the central figures and the social landscape of Coral Tree Prep.
Yeah.
Beyond Juliana, there are two characters in particular who really shape Elise's experience.
Okay, so there's Chase. He's presented as the golden boy, right? Charming, popular, seems to have it all figured out.
Pretty much. But the summary does note that his interactions with Elise start to show there's maybe more going on beneath that perfect surface. Layers of complexity.
And then Derek.
Derek. He's the enigma. Initially, he comes across as, well, arrogant, detached, kind of cold, almost dismissive towards Elise.
But the description gives him this undeniable magnetism. That confuses her, frustrates her.
Yes. Their very first interactions are marked by tension, immediate misunderstanding. And this is where it gets really interesting, how those first impressions may be fueled by a bit of pride, a bit of prejudice.
Can be so incredibly wrong.
Exactly. So off the mark.
And the narrative seems to lean into that dynamic straight away, setting up that core friction. And then there's Webster, adding another layer.
Right, Webster. Described as charismatic, but with this mischievous streak, he brings humor, but also complications into the mix.
So the summary shows Elise getting kind of inadvertently tangled up in the existing school tensions, especially involving Derek.
Yeah, his aloofness seems to almost challenge her directly, makes her determined to figure him out, even while she really dislikes how he behaves.
This whole environment sounds like it forces Elise, and us reading about it, to confront those preconceived notions we all have.
Definitely. The summary suggests that as Elise gets deeper into the school's social scene, she starts seeing that everyone, regardless of popularity or background, is dealing with their own stuff, their own insecurities, struggles.
It's that classic reminder, isn't it? The polished surface often hides a lot of complexity underneath.
Moving beyond the school gates, though, the source material makes it really clear that family dynamics are huge here. They're both a foundation and a source of pressure in Elise's life.
Absolutely. The relationship with her sisters seems central. The summary paints this picture of how differently each sister adapts to LA and Coral Tree Prep.
Right. You have Layla, who's closest in age to Elise. She apparently dives headfirst into the social scene, just totally embraces the new environment with enthusiasm.
Which contrasts sharply with Elise, who's more cautious, more reticent.
And that difference in how they handle it actually creates some strain between them, which the summary points out. It's relatable, I think.
Yeah, very. Meanwhile, the younger sisters, Caitlin and Ava,
They offer different perspectives. Caitlin's kind of observing, maybe influenced by her older sisters. And Ava, the youngest, provides these moments of comic relief, a bit of normalcy amidst all the high school drama.
it really highlights how people in the same family can react so differently to the exact same upheaval.
It does. And then you layer on the parents' influence. The summary describes them as prominent academic figures, high value on education, maintaining a certain level of propriety.
So the pressure's on.
Definitely. Pressure to perform academically, uphold the family's esteemed reputation. The summary specifically notes the mother's strong desire for the kids' behavior and achievements to reflect well on the family, like as a unit.
And that need to project a certain image.
Mm-hmm.
It must clash with just wanting to be a teenager, fit in, figure out who you are.
For sure. The summary indicates Elise really struggles with that balancing act, maybe more than her sisters do.
So while she's trying to navigate this tense school social scene, she's also carrying the weight of family expectations. That's a whole other layer of complexity to her adjustment.
Yeah, it's a lot for anyone to handle.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit. Let's talk about friendships blossoming and a key social event that really seems to ramp up the tension, the school dance. Elise and Juliana's bond strengthens during this time.
Oh, significantly. Their friendship becomes this really critical support system for Elise in this, overwhelming new place. The summary shows their connection deepening, built on mutual understanding, shared experiences, navigating all those social challenges. Juliana's support really helps anchor Elise.
That makes sense. And as the school year rolls on, this major social milestone pops up, the school dance. The summary describes it as pivotal, loaded with anticipation and drama.
Of course, drama. The build-up itself becomes a focal point. Elise and Juliana get swept up in all the talk dates, outfits, the expected social maneuvering.
Classic high school stuff. The summary captures Elise grappling with that typical teenage angst, right? The pressure to get a date, fit in.
Totally. And it forces her to confront her own insecurities. The summary highlights how watching her peers focus so intensely on appearances and social standing makes Elise kind of introspect, think about her own values, where she actually wants to belong in this new environment.
And as the dance gets closer, tensions rise.
Oh, yeah. The summary details how insecurities, rivalries, they all escalate, leads to misunderstandings, even within friendships. And all this is happening while Elise is still completely baffled by Derek.
His inconsistent, contradictory behavior.
Exactly. Those mixed signals are such a stark contrast to Chase, who's more straightforward, charming,
Right. Easier to read, probably.
much easier. So the dance night itself, as the summary describes it, is just full of high emotions, complications. It really serves as a stage where the students' vulnerabilities are kind of put on display.
It sounds like the dance becomes this concentrated learning experience. The summary indicates Elise starts seeing her peers beyond their social roles, recognizing they share similar struggles.
Yeah, it teaches her about the complexities of relationships and maybe the importance of staying true to herself, even when there's all this pressure to conform.
It's like the dance is a microcosm of the entire social landscape she's been trying to figure out, just bringing everything to a head.
Perfectly put. It really crystallizes everything.
And that heightened tension, especially between Elise and Derek, leads us right into the heart of the conflict, the misunderstandings, and eventually the revelations.
This is where the core drama really unfolds. So much of the friction between Elise and Derek, as the summary details it, stems from these crucial misinterpretations.
Like that key instance mentioned where Elise overhears a conversation.
And mistakenly believes Derek is being totally dismissive and arrogant towards her, a classic case of hearing something out of context.
And then there's the other example. His seemingly interfering when he, subtly steps in about her group project partner.
Right. She sees it as cold meddling, just confirming her negative view of him. He's interfering.
But the summary gives context for Derek's actions, doesn't it? Suggests his behavior isn't just arrogance.
Exactly. It implies it's rooted in his own struggles, issues with trust, vulnerability, maybe from being insulated by wealth and status his whole life. He's operating from a completely different place than Elise is used to.
And this friction really peaks dramatically at the Coral Tree prep dance. It builds on an earlier awkward encounter at Chase's family event.
And leads to this really highly charged confrontation between Elise and Derek at the dance itself.
The summary describes this exchange as forcing them, finally, to confront their own insecurities and the misconceptions they have about each other. It's raw.
It's a major turning point. Because this conflict also triggers character revelations, Elise starts seeing these glimpses of Derek's underlying compassion, especially how he is with his sister, Georgiana.
Which clashes completely with the cold image she had of him.
Right. And Derek, in turn, starts to see Elise's genuine loyalty, her fairness, her resilience qualities the source suggests he actually admires, but maybe rarely encounters in his circle.
So their mutual misjudgments finally start to crumble.
Slowly, yeah. And the summary also notes how the secondary characters play into this. Juliana and Chase's developing relationship provides this kind of contrasting dynamic.
While Webster Grant's charm is shown to hide maybe less altruistic intentions towards Elise, adding another layer of complexity.
These conflicts, though difficult, aren't just about drama for drama's sake. They're catalysts for growth. They push the characters, especially Elise and Derek, to look beyond those initial appearances and challenge their own snap judgments.
It really underscores how much our own background, our biases, can just color how we see other people.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the turning points, the redemption arcs, the shifting dynamics, and the start of some genuine understanding. Resolving those core misunderstandings between Elise and Derek becomes pivotal.
The summary really highlights this as the moment where clarity finally breaks through all that tension.
Yeah, it happens through, honest conversations, unexpected moments of vulnerability. Not easy, but necessary.
Elise begins to see the weight of the pressures Derek carries, the insecurities hidden beneath that cold exterior she first saw.
And Derek starts to appreciate Elise's straightforwardness, her authenticity, her quiet strength. It leads him to completely reassess his initial judgment of her as just, another new girl.
Their preconceived notions dissolve as they find this common ground, built on mutual respect now, not just friction.
And this shift between them, it has a ripple effect, right, on their social circles. Juliana and Chase may be influenced by what Elise and Derek went through deep in their own relationship, moving past old grievances.
The summary even suggests Chase becomes more thoughtful, more introspective as a result.
And even Webster, who initially stirred up some drama, starts showing signs of a redemption arc. The summary mentions subtle moments, remorse, a desire to mend friendships. It reflects that broader theme of growth, the possibility of forgiveness.
And it's not just the kids adapting. The family dynamics shift too.
Seems so. The summary indicates the Benton family begins to address their internal conflicts more openly, fostering a more supportive environment at home, which is huge.
And the parents, who were so driven by expectations.
They start to see the importance of their children pursuing individual happiness, finding their own paths, rather than just focusing solely on upholding the family reputation. So it's growth happening kind of across the board.
Which leads us nicely to the final section, embracing change and looking ahead. The summary shows the Benton family eventually reaching a place of, acceptance and contentment in L.A.
Yeah, they settle in, and Elise, who started the story so overwhelmed and uncertain, experiences really significant personal growth. The summary describes her becoming more comfortable in her own skin, gaining confidence within that complex school environment.
She learns to appreciate the diverse personalities at Coral Tree Prep, understanding that many of her peers, despite how they look on the outside, have their own struggles too.
Exactly. Her relationships deepen, most notably with Derek. It moves from that initial antagonism to a really complex, nuanced understanding.
And her bond with Juliana is solidified, naturally, having navigated all these challenges together. She also becomes more connected to her sister's experiences, strengthening those family ties.
The summary portrays her finding a kind of balance, staying true to her core self, while also finding her niche within this new community. The challenges she faced aren't framed as failures.
But more as testaments to her resilience, her adaptability.
Right. The story, as summarized, really reinforces these key themes. That change, while hard, is often essential for personal development. That journey from uncertainty to confidence, it's paved with learning, adaptation.
And cultivating authentic relationships is vital. Finding strength in your own evolving identity is key to, well, fulfillment.
In many ways, the high school experience in this book is framed, like you said earlier, as a microcosm of life itself, navigating complex social structures, dealing with expectations, learning to understand others and yourself.
So let's bring this deep dive into epic fail toward a close by pulling out those core insights. We've seen how a seemingly glamorous setting, like an elite Hollywood school, can actually be a stage for incredibly complex social dynamics.
Yep. And we've explored the significant weight of family expectations, how different people in the same family navigate change so differently.
And crucially, I think, we've seen the transformative power that comes from challenging our initial judgments, resolving misunderstandings. The journey of Elise and Derek really highlights how much we miss when we only look at the surface.
Definitely, it's a powerful reminder.
So this story offers a lot to think about for you listening. What does Elise's experience navigating this unfamiliar, high-pressure world teach you about handling new situations in your own life? How do you approach forming connections when people's outward image might hide who they really are?
And maybe think about your own interactions. How do your preconceived notions, those judgments you might make about someone based on where they're from, how they dress, how they talk, how do those shape the way you interact with them?
It leaves us with a pretty powerful thought to ponder, doesn't it? If navigating high school social hierarchies really is a microcosm of life, how much of what we perceive in other people is actually a reflection of their hidden struggles, their complexities that we just don't see?
And how much is it a reflection of our own lens, our own judgments and expectations? What unexpected connections or understandings might we unlock if we just dared to look beyond the surface?
Something to carry with you.
For sure.
Indeed. That's all for this deep dive.